That's a strange looking boy. You can't have silence and then text that reads bitch pay. Interesting name. Or a baby. Or an enemy in general. What if you took the beloved Alice in Wonderland, originally written by Lewis Carroll, and what if you made it dark, a bit twisted? What if you gave Alice trauma because of dead parents, and to top it all off, you added sexual deviance? Well then, you would get Alice Madness Returns. Alice Madness Returns was developed by Shanghai-based studio Spicy Horse and was published by Electronic Arts. And here's the name I want you to remember. The creative director of the game, American James McGee. Yes, his name is American, which is very patriotic and I love it. Now, some of you may not know this, I only found this out partway through the game. Alice Madness Returns is a sequel to the 2000s game American McGee's Alice, which I may or may not do a video on depending on whether I find a way to play it. Now, this game had been on my list of games to play for the longest time. The gameplay looked fun, the levels looked cool and weird, and the art style really caught my attention. So I finally sat down and played this bad boy to see if it was any good. So without further ado, let's uncover the story of mental struggle, loss, and a wee bit of revenge. So then, first things first, let's cover the story. For a little bit of context, Alice Little along with her family would find themselves in a house fire claiming the lives of Mrs. and Mr. Little and also Alice's sister, Lizzie Little. Alice would be the only survivor of the fire and would develop severe mental health issues. Alice thinks that she is to blame for the fire but can't remember why. Fast forward and Alice would spend 10 years in an asylum which would enable her to enter Wonderland for the first time. Now, at the end of American McGee's Alice, the Queen of Hearts would be defeated, thus restoring Alice's mental state and getting her discharged from the asylum, which brings us to the start of Alice Madness Returns. Alice is in another therapy session with Dr. Angus Bumby, who is trying to help Alice forget about her past. Bumby asks Alice to go pick up some pills from the chemist. Alice makes her way down and out the orphanage.
Hang off, Missy. Move along.
What's going on back there? I want to see for no particular reason. Bro, you're blocking! Goes along the streets of London and finds a white cat. Alice tries to be friendly towards it. The cat just fucks off like any other real cat would. Alice then follows it through an alley, but then she starts hallucinating a crowd of strange creatures. Before becoming overwhelmed, Nurse Witless, who was Alice's former nurse from when she was at the asylum, greets her, then quickly tries to blackmail her.
But what I know is worth more than that. Kept her secret, haven't I?
Heard her say, all died on my account, I couldn't save you.
I've told her my silence is for sale. Keep.
Basically, Witless heard Alice confess and say that she is responsible for the fire and her family's death, and will report Alice to the local bobbies unless she pays up. So then Alice follows Witless up to the roof with a bunch of pigeons. Witless tells Alice today's price for her silence, and then Witless turns into some weird gremlin thing. Shortly after, Alice finds herself in Wonderland. This is supposed to act as Alice's safe haven inside her mind. Now, right after entering Wonderland, the Cheshire cat informs Alice that there is a new darkness infecting Wonderland. After gaining the ability to shrink and traversing for a bit, we get our first weapon, the Vorpal Blade, which we then put to use right away against
disgusting black crap.
So after we clean his ass up, we continue through Wonderland, meet the Duchess, who I'm assuming had a conflict with Alice in the last game. Anyway, she gives us our second weapon, which is the Pepper Grinder. The Duchess orders us to go shoot flying pig snouts. Yes, you heard that right. Once we finish that up, we head over to the next area, which is a desert-like environment with teapots scattered about. There, we encounter our next enemy, the Madcap, which looks similar to the Mad Hatter. We clean those up, then we head to the big floating factory. Hitch a ride, the kitty tells us Alice needs to find the Hatter for answers. Then we crash wander around the factory for a bit before finding our first repressed memory of the night of the fire. And to be honest, it doesn't add much.
Our lovely library was a fire trap.
A conflagration waiting to happen.
Look, telling us, wow, it's very flammable, whatever. But right after, we unlock Devil Trigger. You unlock Hysteria, which is super broken. While in Hysteria, Alice is and inflicts more damage. Let me just say, having a dodge roll that makes you basically makes it hard to get low on health in the first place. So when you do get low on health, it's basically just a get out of jail free card, but whatever, let's move on. After that, we find the Mad Hatter, who is just ahead. From my understanding of the last game, the Mad Hatter was experimenting on the March Hare and the Dormouse. Kind of a dick move, so Alice had to sort him out. Alice agrees to help the Hatter get his body parts back in exchange for the Hatter's knowledge on some sort of train. Both his arms and legs are currently being used by the Dormouse and the March Hare, but Alice takes them anyways. The Hatter gets reconstructed and Alice asks about some sort of train, but he speaks nonsense, then abruptly grabs Alice and leaps through the ceiling to head to another part of the factory, where we finally get to see the infernal train, which leaves right before Alice can reach it. Shortly after, Alice is then confronted by the rabbit and hare, and they engage in an epic boss battle. Yeah, no, there's only one boss in the entire game, and it's not this one. The factory starts to collapse, and the Hatter mourns over both the rat and the rabbit, saying all he wanted was a tea party. Alice still presses the Hatter for answers regarding the train, but still gets no help. The Hatter gets crushed by the collapsing building, and Alice drowns in tea. Alice wakes up on a wharf with two men standing over her, with one saying pretty openly that he wanted to... let's move on. Alice makes her way to the Mangled Mermaid, which is a brothel, and runs into Nan Sharp, who was formerly Alice's nanny, but now runs the brothel. Nan Sharp is arguing with some bloke about money. After seeing Alice, she invites her up. Once Alice goes up and sees Nan Sharp, the same man from before is beating the shit out of her, starts a fire, then slaps the shit out of Alice, causing her to become unconscious again. Alice makes a Helldiver's entrance and then finds herself in Tundra Fall and meets up with Mock Turtle, who was aboard a ship. Alice climbs aboard and they get attacked by King Fin from Super Mario Galaxy. So Mock Turtle gets the idea of going to the Carpenter Show, which is the perfect thing to think about at a time like this, but whatever. Then we do this Cuphead-esque plane segment. I know this came out before Cuphead, but f*** you. We f*** some shit up, crashed. Alice talks about the train, but Mock Turtle doesn't want to and tells her to go see the Carpenter, and then hands her the ticket to the Carpenter's show. After that interaction, we come across another door to unlock another memory. Alice explains that on the night of the fire, before she went to bed, she was the last person in the library and saw that the fireplace was completely dead. After that, Alice encounters a little fish town called Barrel Bottom. After heading in and exploring for a bit, we find ourselves at a theater where we meet the Carpenter, and once again, we end up doing tasks for someone else to gain information on the train without actually gaining any information. To make it short, the Carpenter asks Alice to get performers for the show. She does so, but he is no help. She says he promised, he doesn't care, let's move on. And for a third time, we are tasked with doing other people's a drowned sailor who's like, save my brothers, free their souls. Ugh. It's, let's just skip this. This has zero plot significance. After that, Alice walks past a crime scene of dead fish people. So that's nice. We finally reach the show and it's revealed that the true intentions of the show is for the walrus to feast on the sea life. During that, the train makes its way to the theater. The Carpenter says to Alice that she is being misled by someone, which is most likely relevant to something that happens later in the story. And also says that the train arrived when Alice arrived. Then he also mentions the caterpillar might have answers. So right before the train hits, Alice wakes up in a wagon with her Nan, headed away from the burning brothel. On the wagon, Nan Sharp notices two men sort of just standing around next to a bunch of kids, and then she calls the kids food for perverts. And yes, this is relevant Trust me. Soon after, Alice asks about her rabbit from when she was at the asylum, followed by once again, the fire. Nan Sharp cuts her off and gets to with her and tells her to talk to the guy that wrote the inquest report on the fire and that he also has Alice's rabbit too. So then Alice goes and sees Mr. Radcliffe, the lad who wrote the inquest report, at his office. After entering Mr. Radcliffe's office, she notices her rabbit on the table, but Radcliffe claims that she had abandoned the rabbit at the asylum. Then he talks about his version of what happened on the night of the fire. He states that the house cat had knocked over the lamp, causing the fire. He also adds that Alice's sister Lizzie never unlocked her door and had died in her bed due to the smoke. Radcliffe states that he had also thrown around theories of Alice being the cause due to her apparent interest in fire. Alison wakes up, when she went to sleep I don't know, in Radcliffe's office again, but it's all boarded up and looks abandoned. Alice makes her way outside and sees fragments of Wonderland invading reality. We go down the streets of London, which has completely gone to shit, and then we see that blasted train go by. Then we drop in the Vale of Doom, which from a quick Google search is meant to symbolize Alice's further descent into madness. Look, other than that, there's nothing too plot significant here. All you need to know is Alice literally goes through hell with the assistance of a smoko, we see a strange little mountain, and then we shrink. And after all that, Alice finds herself in a Eastern-inspired environment where we encounter samurai wasps. Wait. I thought they changed their eyes for a sec. I got really worried for a sec. Do some puzzles and Mario 64 the shit and go through paintings, do a little 2D platforming back to 3D, then we get ourselves another repressed memory which reveals that not only did the cat not knock over the lamp due to being in Alice's room, but the lamp was never in the library to begin with. So that makes things more fishy. After that, we see Wasp beating the shit out of the ants. I don't know what that conflict is about, and I don't care. And after a bunch of platforming later, we go and see the wise caterpillar. And then he drops a line that says, Alice allows others to tell her what is real. Someone said something else similar. He then goes and tells Alice to find the Red Queen and that she is someone Alice once knew and loved. As the mountain is crumbling, Alice wakes up back in the real world in a jail cell. Apparently Alice pitched a fit or something in public, it's not super important, but what is important is Dr. Bumby threatening the police officer's job if they didn't release Alice. And it's not for the reasons you'd think. Moving on, Alice gets released and traverses through the station until no shit, I'm not joking you, she faints again. I get this whole game is about Alice's mind and shit, but god damn, this is bad. She then wakes up again in a strange alley. Now at the end of this alley is a heart-shaped entrance. Wonder who that could mean. She enters, there's tentacles. I don't, let's move on. After some falling, Alice ends up in some sort of card sky island. Now this segment of the game felt a little strange to me, but not in a bad way. There's no enemies or threats other than simply falling, and the tone of music tells me that this is a safe haven for Alice while making it clear that the safety or the peace of mind is temporary. Well, maybe that's just me. I liked the brief change of pace, but let's move on. After some platforming shenanigans, Alice arrives at Queensland. Bit of fighting later, Alice meets up with the former king of this land, but instantly destroys him in order to get through to the castle. One thing he does mention though, is that there is a guard roaming about and advises Alice to avoid confronting it. Alice heads into the castle, gets attacked by more guards before the executioner shows himself and attacks Alice. This is what the king lad was talking about. This nasty looking son of a bitch chases Alice through the castle, teleports us, chases us again, and then teleports us again, This, he's gonna get it. Bit of cat and mouse later. Then we get to a puzzle room, which just gives you the option to skip. So there's not much point, but anyways, then we get our juiciest memory yet. It is revealed that Alice's sister during the night of the fire could not have died from the smoke since her room was the furthest away from the fire, and that she had also never locked her door to her room, so she wasn't trapped. She also knew other ways out the house, which would have been through her window, so that means someone incapacitated or killed Lizzie, locked her room, took the lamp downstairs, and started the fire to cover up their crimes. but who? Yeah, no, the game shows us in the flashback, but whatever. Then this mother chases us again, but this time is different. We size up on this mother a bit. Then we have this whole segment where we get to play as Big Alice. We fight waves of these little card guys, tear out some tentacles instead of sitting. We finally meet the Red Queen, and she asks Alice an important question. Who benefits from her madness? We get eaten, then wake up in a asylum. Alice walks through for a bit and remembers the she went through during her time there. Then we go into a dark environment with these street lamps about, where a child crawls out and begs Alice for help, also stating that there is a new evil, which we heard the cat say at the very start. Then, finally, our last main world, the dollhouse. After heading through it for a bit, we encounter 4 children who are mangled with wire and saw trap looking shit. After a chat with the children, we then have a little golf mini game with what seems to be a doll version of Alice's head. Lots of fighting and platforming later. We get our final memory of the Night of the Fire. Then we see the big bad of the game, the mastermind behind Alice's corrupted mind, Dr. Angus Bumby.
I saw him, a preening undergraduate. Now I remember him. That key belongs to Lizzie's room. Am I not the most wretched and selfish of fortune's fools? Oblivious, I live in a training ground for prostitutes. My mentor is an abuser and purveyor. I've been complicit with my sister's murderer and the killer of my family as he corrupted my mind. I sought relief from my pain and you turned me away from the truth.
As you heard, the orphanage Dr. Bumby runs is a training ground for prostitutes. Alice turns into a doll before heading back into the real world. Alice confronts Bumby at a train station.
You oozing sore of depravity! Children wearing their names around their necks as if they're breeding livestock.
Bumby has used psychological techniques on the children at the orphanage to make them forget about their past and who they are, to use them for adult services. Then we go back to doll Alice before she breaks out of that form, showing that she has overcome Dr. Bumby's attempt to corrupt her mind. And then we finally are aboard the infernal train. Alice heads through some carriages and speaks to the caterpillar, who tells Alice about all the suffering that is happening around her.
Those who witness abuse without seeking retribution for the harm pay a penalty. Your own pain mitigates your failure to act earlier, but you may not yet have paid enough for witnessing the pain of others.
Oh, there are the dolls of the kids. Oh,
You corrupted my memories, but you failed to make me forget.
I could have made you into a tasty bit. Clients out the door waiting for a piece from a raving, delusional beauty with no memory of the past or no sense of the future. But you wouldn't forget. You insisted on holding on to your fantasies. You're mad, like your sister.
Don't speak of her. You didn't know her.
Your sister was a tease, pretended to despise me. She got what she wanted in the end.
I'm going to assume we all know what he's talking about. Finally, the final showdown. Time to put this Bumby twat in his place. We confront the doll maker at the front of the train and fight. He throws all sorts of attacks at us with his hands and some ink machine residue. After defeating him in Wonderland, we then confront Bumby in the real world. And, well, I'll just show you. It's pretty ironic he died by a train. Then Alice's Wonderland and reality blend. And that is the story of Alice Madness Returns. Now, I had zero clue what to expect from this game, but I would not have guessed that it would have taken the turn that it did. But man, I think it executes the story really well with its symbolism and such. I like how throughout the story you find these fiery doors that lead back to a memory from the Night of the Fire, as if Alice is literally stepping back into that memory through the door. I also like the twist villain a lot. I had zero clue up until the flashback showed him that Bumby was going to be the big bad, and his motive is disgusting, villainous, and it works. When the Red Queen asks Alice who benefits from Alice's madness, she's referring to Bumby trying to make Alice forget about her past and herself, basically making a clean slate for Bumby to write over. What would he write over it with? He would make Alice a prostitute for money. During chapter 5 at the dollhouse, those kids we talk to are a visual representation of what Bumby is doing to their minds, trying to make them forgetful. In Wonderland, Bumby is the doll maker because it's like he's creating dolls out of the kids. Horrendous, but a cool visual to show what he's doing. Also, when it comes to pacing, there is only one part of the game that I have an issue with, and that was saving the underwater pirates. Look, after getting all the musicians for the Carpenter, we got thrown into another quest where it's just go somewhere and do thing for character. Just felt like a bit of filler is all. Another thing with the story was the plans for a third installment, which, long story short, never got greenlit by EA, and it's just another property that gets sat on and nothing gets done with it. The third game, Alice's Asylum, would have dove deeper into Alice's brain and discovered deeper psychological things. After finding out about the cancelled sequel, I was pretty bummed out. But two things worth mentioning: while the game did profit, it wasn't enough to warrant a sequel. These numbers aren't concrete, but the budget was about 9 million and the profit was about 3 million. Again, not concrete, but unfortunately there just wasn't enough interest. And the second point is, I think Alice Madness Returns ending is good on its own. Alice finds out and remembers about her past, faces her demons, and gets revenge. Overall, the way the story is presented and the story itself is super engaging and smart. Now the next talking point is the gameplay. The game leaned a lot more into puzzle platforming than I thought it would, but that's not to say that's a bad thing. The movement itself was pretty basic, with a simple jump and triple jump, the shrink ability allowing Alice to explore keyholes and confined spaces, the dodge, which as mentioned before is pretty broken. Now the puzzle platforming itself usually consists of using a time bomb to hold down a pressure plate while you head somewhere or shoot a button. It's actually nothing crazy. But the highlight of the game is the combat. Now looking back, the combat itself is pretty basic, but it's still fun. Found myself using each weapon during fights. You've got the basic close range attack, the Vorpal Blade, quick slashes for quick damage. Moving on to a ranged weapon, you've got the Pepper Grinder, quick fire rate and good damage, but you need to monitor the cooldown. The Hobby Horse acts as a heavy attack, slower, but can break through enemies' guards, allowing to combo into the Vorpal Blade. And the Teapot Cannon, which is basically a grenade launcher that you can charge. There's also an umbrella that allows you to deflect range attacks, and the rabbit bomb thing, which never gets used in combat. Also, throughout the game, you collect teeth, which is the currency of the game. They're used to upgrade your weapons, whether that be to add more strikes to the Vorpal Blade or increase the fire rate of the pepper gun. One thing I did like about the gameplay was how it would switch up every once in a while. In Chapter 2, we had the underwater ship segment. In Chapter 3, we had the 2D platforming segments, which did kind of feel a bit bland, but was alright nonetheless. In Chapter 4, we had the chess puzzles, which you, as mentioned, could skip, so they're sort of pointless. And finally, in Chapter 5, we had that strange golf minigame. Overall, the gameplay is pretty basic, but good. The variety comes with the enemy encounters themselves, which we will discuss. Now this game has a very strong variety of enemies. First up is the Insidious Rune. Pretty basic, first enemy you encounter, nothing special. Bolt flies, they come in swarms, so you've got to destroy the nests, and they'll latch onto Alice to damage her, but to avoid this, simply dodge. The Madcap will sometimes bear a shield, all you have to do is wait for them to attack, and their ass will be wide open. Eyepots can attack you from afar, you just need to hit them in the eye. Just spam Pepper Grinder like I did and it does the trick. Then we get to the big motherfucker, the Menacing Ruin, which actually has a couple of attacks. He's got a ranged fireball, he'll run at you, he'll backhand you if you get too close. All you've got to do is destroy all 3 faces and you've got him. Pretty cool enemy. Drowned sailors were a pain at first because I couldn't figure out how to damage them. All you've got to do is wait for them to whiff an attack or shoot their bombs before they throw it, leaving them wide open to your attacks. Crab Cannon is a pretty neat and fitting enemy for the underwater theme. They have a whole ass cannon attached to their claw, which is cool as. He'll fire and swing at you. All you've got to do is get him on his back to damage him. Colossal Ruin was a bitch to fight because you can't dodge his grab attack. But same diff as Menacing Ruin, where you need to destroy all the faces. But once you do that, it grows another face, which you also need to destroy. The wasps are all samurai themed. One wields a sword and the other a bow. Then you've got the big samurai wasps and the little samurai wasps. Up to the last few, you've got the card guard, which will regenerate if you don't finish them while they're knocked down. You don't really fight the executioner, you just run away until you find the cake. Armored card guard, they've got a weapon. All you need to do is wait for them to swing, and they miss, and then you can damage them from behind. And finally, Bitch Baby, which is a crazy name. So yeah, this game has a enemy variety, alright. Most of them get countered by Hobby Horse since it breaks through guards. Oh, and the final boss has a very cool and creepy design. While I do like the level design for the most part, the puzzles are pretty easy. There's a lot of just making a slight detour to open a door or to spawn a platform. This wasn't overdone, but it was noticeable. The art design looks great, levels look great, actually sick how Alice's dress changes along with the level. If I had to pick a favourite, it would be the Queensland one because of the medieval vibe it has. And I'm very happy they fixed Alice's design from the trailer because there's something off about the way she looks. The game on normal mode, for me at least, was still pretty easy. Never found myself struggling after I figured out how to beat an enemy. The music is very good, it does a great job with fitting in with the atmosphere. Also the sound design was very good, like when you hit the Insidious rune, you can hear little train sound effects. There are a lot of collectibles to, well, collect. On my playthrough, I got a fair bit of them, but I've never really been a completionist. I had slept on this game for way too long. I had always seen this game pop up here and there, but never really looked into it too much. But finally, I did that final push to see what was up. I cannot tell you how happy I am I made that decision. So, can I recommend this game? Without a doubt, yes. The platforming is fun, the combat is fun, and holy shit, the story gets you really invested. The way things start to click together when you understand what's going on is just really good storytelling. I was super happy by the end that Alice had dealt with her demons and finally got the closure for the Night of the Fire. This game is on Xbox 360, PS3, and Steam. Overall, this game gets a 8 out of 10, and once again, I strongly recommend it.